We're live.
We are rolling. All right.
Always rolling.
Here we go. All right, Dev. I got a question for you here right off the bat, all right?
All right.
Okay,
Fire
here we
away.
go. Okay. I know we're like almost into February here, but we never talked about this. You got any New Year's resolutions?
No, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions.
You didn't even think about one thing you might
Not
do.
one thing.
Well, tell me, what do you plan on doing over the next year? Because I'm assuming that you're going to
Over
try
the
to better
next
yourself
year?
somehow.
Finish my degree
Okay.
and just work my ass off. That's about it. That's about it.
That's
honestly.
about it?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't really plan on doing much else.
so your resolution is to work your ass off.
I don't know. I believe in that. When you think of something, you should just go out and do it. To be honest, and not really. Like New Year's resolutions are kind of dumb because like if you think, oh, end of summer, well, that's gonna be my New Year's resolution. It's like why not just start that day, right? Like say
Yeah.
I want to get more fit. Say that middle of December. It's like why not December? Why wait till January 1st? Why not start December 13th?
Are you
right?
fat shaming me?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
How about you, Mace? What's your New Year's resolutions?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to make a remark on yours. Maybe you should try to do something a little realistic. Working your ass off. Like, come on, let's be real here, Dev.
What, you think
No,
I'm lazy?
New
You think
Year's
I'm lazy,
resolution,
Mace?
I want to find the cure to cancer.
Yeah, that's totally realistic.
Oh, yeah. I could probably do it. I just got to put my head down. I could probably figure it out. Can't be that hard, right?
We might have to cut this out. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
All right.
What's your actual New Year's resolution?
New Year's resolution. To be honest, man, I'm kind of the same way. Don't really give that much thought to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care, Like you said, if there's something you want to do, you may as well just go do it, right? But I don't know, maybe lose a couple pounds. We'll see.
Yeah, you might need to lose a few.
Yeah, maybe learn a thing or two as well.
Summer's just around the corner. We just
Yeah.
got one more cold month.
Hey, remember, we're in Balkan season right now.
Mason's been in Balkan. You've been in Balkan season for 2 years.
It's Balkan. Remember, it's 2022, the year of the bulk. This is Balkan year. I'll get fit next year.
All
That's
right.
my New Year's resolution.
That's
Try to
your
get as big as
for
humanly
2023,
possible.
eh? Yeah.
Just try to become a complete unit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know today we're recording on the 29th, so you guys have probably already heard about this, but I'd just like to make a note on the passing of Michael Lee Aday, the lead singer of the band Meatloaf. Did you ever listen to Meatloaf, Dev?
No, I don't even know
No?
what meatloaf is.
Really?
I just ate it. That's about it.
Yeah, it looks like you ate a lot of it too. You never heard Paradise by the Dashboard Light?
Nope.
2 out of 3 ain't bad?
I'm also one of those people where if you tell me a song name, I won't remember. I don't actually know what the song is until you start playing it.
Jeez, these damn city folk, they don't even know Meatloaf. Well, I
What has
personally, I personally really enjoyed Meatloaf. I went actually in 2016, he was on tour,
Mm-hmm.
and he went to the IMAX Center in Lethbridge, and it was funny because the concert previous to that was that one when he was in Red Deer and he passed out on stage. Like, this guy's old, man.
From what?
He was dehydration.
Oh.
He was not in good shape, man. He was.
Oh, okay.
And then I don't mean to beat a guy when he's down. He's dead and stuff. But like, that was one of the worst concerts I've ever been to. Like, I know when Garth Brooks was going on his tour, his big world tour, and somehow got reported that he was lip singing and everybody was pissed at him. In Meatloaf's case, he should have been lip singing. I couldn't understand a damn word he was saying. Like, for the longest time, I was like, wait, is this I think he's playing this song, right? But I can't understand what he's saying, so I can't say for sure. But yeah, also some of the best artwork for album covers, man.
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance, just search up Bad Out of Hell album. It's some sick artwork, man. Like, they're not that demonic, but their artwork is like super.
Yeah.
It's like hell and shit. Like, it's kind of spooky, but it's pretty cool.
That's
but yeah,
good.
never listened to it, eh?
Well, rest his soul. Like rest in peace to him.
R.I.P. He's a great musician. A lot of hits. If you haven't listened to it, go give it a listen. But yeah. So that's our little banter for this one here.
We're keeping it short because we got a long podcast ahead of us.
Yeah, we got an interview coming up. Our first interview ever. Actually, this is our first business trip as a podcast.
Business trip. Day 3 of the business trip.
Day 3 of the business trip. We're down in T-Town right now. If you follow us on TikTok, you see that we went skiing the other day, tore it up a little bit. You got to have a little bit of fun on these business trips. But
Exactly.
now we're getting down to business. So we're going to go to that interview right now with a representative from WestGen. All right, so we have with us a representative from WestGen. I guess your professional title is genetic advisor. He's been there for about 8 years. He's pretty old, and he happens to be one of the ugliest guys I've ever met in my whole life. My dad, John Muller.
Jeez, thanks for the nice introduction there,
Yeah,
Mason.
it was pretty good, eh?
It was pretty good. All right, John. We'll start off with some basic questions. So I've been told that you were not born in Canada. So where were you born?
I was born in Holland. I was about 8 years old when my parents immigrated, so...
Mm-hmm. What would you say was the biggest culture shock moving over here? Or was there not really any shock moving over here? Or?
Yeah, there was a bit of a shock because when I went to school, I didn't really know any English,
Mm-hmm.
so that was a bit of a challenge. They pulled me out of math class to teach me English.
You're good at algebra or something?
No, I was,
Katoa?
no. Apparently, in the former homeland, we were a little ahead with the math, so I was about a year ahead. So they just pulled me out of there, and
Oh, okay.
you don't really need English for math, right? So.
Yeah, fair enough.
I thought I remembered you saying during recess everybody would just gang up on you and dodgeball. I'd say
Well-
that's a bit of a culture shock.
Yeah, that's all right.
Like, damn, these Canadians are mean. How the hell did we come over here?
Well, I was the alien, right? I couldn't speak English, so it was easy to pick on me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
All right. After high school, did you end up going to college?
Yes, I did.
Where at?
Olds College.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
represent.
yeah. What do you think of Olds College? Good institution?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I
Or
mean,
was it a little less professional when you went?
no, the thing that I appreciate about Olds College, everything's hands-on, and most of the guys you hang around with were from small towns, right? So
Mhm.
really appreciated that. A lot of the courses were hands-on, like I said, so it was
Okay.
practical.
So what programs did you take while you were there?
Well, I started out with just ag business
Mm-hmm.
in my first 2 years. It's pretty heavy load. So then I decided to go for a third year, so I could take some ag production courses, which I felt would be relevant for me as well. So I could ease up my program in my second year just a little bit, so I could start taking some of the ag production courses.
Gotcha. What would you say was your number one, like, favorite drinking / dorm story that you have, if you got one?
Doesn't
Or
have
too
to be
many.
number one. Yeah,
Or
I'm
is
sure
there
you
too
got.
many?
Just tell us one.
Just tell us one.
Okay, I'll tell you maybe one. So my roommate, he was from BC. His name was Brad Creasy.
Creasy.
Yeah, his old man was a pilot for Air Canada as well, and they had a blueberry farm. But nevertheless, he decided one day that we were going to have a dorm party in my room. So he brought his stereo, set it all up in the dorm room, and anyway, then he started in the afternoon already. I had classes, and I was headed on my way back to the dorm, and I could already hear the music blaring out of the room. That was in the old residence,
Yeah,
right?
the asbestos-filled one.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so I think by about midnight, his first speaker blew, and then by about 2 in the morning, the other one went. So we were like without music by about 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I
So you
could
guys
tell.
got pretty rowdy that night.
Well,
yeah, that was
yeah.
a pretty PG story.
No, you're right.
All right.
You're right. We won't say what happened in the room while
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. That's fair.
or the consequence thereafter.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So when you guys came over from Holland, did you guys just get straight into dairy farming, or was there kind of like a period where your dad was doing other work and then you guys got the farm?
No, the plan was right away to start dairy farm. Obviously, there was no dairy farm, so we came in October and we were milking cows the following year. So the plan was to set up. My uncle had moved a year prior to us, so we basically set up shop in one of the corners of his field and set up a dairy farm there.
Mm-hmm. Is that still the same one that's there today?
There's still one there in Bow Island, but it's not a dairy farm anymore.
Okay.
So it's not at all.
So when did you guys transition over into Tabor or Cranford, I guess?
That would have been 2001. We moved over here. We needed to expand, and my dad had passed away or whatever, and my brother and I took it over, and just to be more sustainable, we couldn't expand where we were, so this opportunity came up, and we decided to move to Cranford.
Mm-hmm. And then how long did you guys have that dairy farm for?
About 4 or 5 years, somewhere in there.
Okay.
In Cranford.
Okay. Yep. So what was your least favorite task on the farm?
When you know what, I don't know. to think about that would be tough because everything was kind of similar. I mean, I could have said feeding calves, but some days that was good. I think the least favorite thing was.
I guess it depends how shitty the heifers were.
Yeah. That's how the cows were that day.
Yeah.
I think probably the least favorite thing is when stuff broke down.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
trying to fix and you get behind. And
Well, you and Uncle Casper probably didn't know shit about mechanics, right?
no, Uncle Casper was pretty good
Oh,
actually.
was he?
So,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
he was
good.
pretty decent at it. But
Fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, no. All right, and then so you guys had the dairy farm for 4 to 5 years, and you guys obviously sold dairy farm too.
yeah.
And then, so what was your first job when you went into industry?
So I did work for a milk recording for a
Mhm.
number of years.
Mhm.
I shouldn't say that. At first, I worked as a herdsman for the guy that bought our place,
Mm-hmm.
just because they were from BC, and I offered to help him out, just
Yeah.
going into the transition. So I did that for about a year, and then I went into there was a job opening for milk recording, and decided to do that.
Okay. And then when did you start your position at WestGen?
Right after that,
Right after that one? So
about 7 years ago. I don't know the exact date. I'd have to.
Well,
do
did
some
you
math.
already say how you were with DHI for a bit?
Yeah,
Okay,
that was the milk
sorry.
recording, right?
Okay,
So-
yeah, I wasn't listening.
Mason's falling asleep over
Yeah,
there.
I'm snoozing. All right, so artificial insemination has been around since, around the 50s. Obviously, the technology and the way it's done has changed a lot over those years. When you guys were farming and when you came over from Holland, was it already very prevalent and was it kind of popular, or has it really blown up since like the 2000s, in your opinion?
It was very prevalent already at that time because, obviously I was too young to take it at the time, but my dad made a point of taking an AI course in Lethbridge immediately. So we were right off the hops. We were artificially inseminating.
Right,
Oh yeah,
right when you came off the boat, your AI and
yeah. Just yeah, not me. But we didn't. We weren't really set up for heifers, so we did have a jolly jumper in the back there for the heifers. So.
Okay. Was AI though popular back in Holland though?
Yeah, it was done there too, for sure. I'm not as familiar. I wouldn't be able to quote too much how it was done there, whether you needed a vet or a technician to do it.
Okay.
But it was being done there as well.
Okay.
All right. All right, Mace. Where you want to go?
Okay, so what does a typical day entail for you as a genetic advisor?
Well, typically...
Well, here, wait, let me hold up for a sec. Okay, so genetic advisor, for anybody who doesn't know what that means, essentially, and people who don't know what WestGen is, essentially, he sells bull sperm to dairy farmers so that they can
Bull or
get the
dairy and beef.
dairy and
'Cause you
beef
have a
so
few
that
beef
they can
guys,
get
right?
their
That's right.
specific characteristics that they want in their future herd. But so what does a typical day entail for you?
Mason needs a
Combining
coffee,
words now. Combining words.
You been drinking?
No, I'm not, but I should get one. Owen, go get me a beer.
A typical day, yeah. No, it's obviously you gotta make your rounds. People run out of semen. I typically mostly work in the dairy industry, and they breed year round. Whereas beef is a lot different, where it's a summer gig, where they try to either do a January calving or some of them will calve up to March, April in that area, depending on their operation, right? But for dairy, it's around the around the clock, around the year. So it's basically you got to make sure that they don't run out of semen for their cows, and you're always looking for different genetic strategies as well, right? But most of them already have their genetic strategy in place, so you try to help producers, help them with that.
Yeah.
And
so,
what's like what's your territory in a sense? How far do you have to travel for work and stuff like that?
So I'm south of Calgary, so I'm southern Alberta, and they just recently gave me the Creston run. There's a handful of dairies in the Creston area, so
And that takes about 4 or 5 hours to get out there in a sense?
5 hours from here, 4.5 from Lethbridge.
Awesome. So it means you can listen to the podcast like 5 times if you want to, eh?
I don't know how desperate I am, but
Fair enough.
do you do that all in a day trip, or will you just spend the night there, or like somewhere?
yeah, no, typically to do it properly, that run, I probably want to spend 2 nights there.
Okay, yeah. So
So-
you're really in the area, and you really make sure you do your rounds. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so otherwise it's just too rushed.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I wouldn't want to go back to Creston twice over if I needed to.
So
and if there's anybody from Creston, I guess Dev doesn't really like your area that much. But,
it's nice
so-
there.
It is
So-
nice views. It's nice views out there.
Oh yeah, for sure. So for anybody who's listening right now, if there is anybody listening, who would potentially want to be a salesman, given your experience, and not to brag, you were an employee of the year, the 1 year, not not a
Seaman
big
Slinger
deal.
of the Year.
Yeah. Well, so obviously some people won't be ripping around in a semen demon like you are, but what skills / characteristics would you say has really helped you as a salesman in the years, or certain things that are important to the sale?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to build relationships. It's not about trying to sell something, and I don't like to refer myself as a salesman because I'm more into the business of trying to help people.
Yeah.
And so it is about relationships. It's about figuring out what people need, not what my idea, what I think they should need. First, you have to identify, what a customer's needs are, and build from there, and then come up with strategies after that.
So the idea of listening is just as important as talking.
Absolutely. It's more important.
More important.
Well, I guess it probably helps you out that you kind of just are dealing with your friends for the most part.
Well, I have gone full circle. I mean, it does. Because I was on the other end, I was a dairy producer, and I knew which salesmen I liked and which ones I tried to hide from or avoid. And if anybody came to try to push something on me, I was gonzo. I did not appreciate that. Right? So
Nobody likes to be told what they should do,
or tell them that they're crappy at something, right? So
yeah.
nobody wants to hear that.
Exactly.
That's not a good strategy.
Yeah,
So.
for sure.
All right, so I guess we'll start to dip into kind of the genetics and everything. We're going to start off here with the beef side of things a bit. So you do deal with a few beef producers. What type of producer are you coming dealing with? Like purebred, commercial guys, or?
It's mostly commercial.
Mostly commercial.
And of course we do have the Bow Valley genetics in Bassano as well, and there's definitely experts there that would know a lot more than I would in that field, and they deal more with purebred guys and what have you. So here I have a small little niche of beef guys, but they're mostly commercial, and they just want to, bulls are very expensive, and AI is you get better genetics, and it's cheaper actually than buying.
So, like, for a guy that's trying to expand in a sense and raise some good heifers, maybe AI is like a good tool to use in a sense. Like, they're trying to elevate their herd's genetics.
Correct.
Okay. What kind of, are they mostly just Angus people that you're dealing with, or?
Mostly, yeah. That seems to be the predominant breed down here. I do have one Charolais guy as well, but yeah, I mean, what are they looking for? That could be a question that you have down there.
Yeah, I was going to be the next one.
Here,
What are the top?
I don't know if we have this on here, but how often would you say or how big are usually the herds that you're AIing when you go out to a place? Are you AIing 60 in a day, 80, 100, or is it kind of very dependent on the operation?
Well, it depends on the operation. The largest one I have right now is 110 in one morning.
One morning, yeah. Your arm's probably pretty sore after
well,
that.
you've been there.
Oh, yeah, that one. Okay, yeah.
So, Mason was actually loading guns for me, so he had nice and blistered fingers after.
Yeah, from all the,
liquid nitrogen. But
So how long would that take you then in the morning? A couple hours in a sense?
No, about 4 hours.
Well, and you weren't doing it by yourself as well. You had...
well, last time I did, but...
Oh, did you?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Did you take Seth out with you that time?
Yeah, to load guns and Presley. So
yeah.
4 hours, wow.
Yeah, your bicep was probably like...
No, it's fine. As long as you don't fight the cow when it tries to fight you, you're fine.
Fair enough.
So,
what are the top 3 traits that beef producers down here are looking for?
well, I think some of that has to do with calving ease, right? Nobody wants calving difficulties. And
Well, no one wants to be out in -40 dealing with that, right?
Exactly. So that certainly is probably one of them. The other things are going to be, they're going to, observe, weaning weights, yearling weights, carcass quality, right? Because at the end of the day, they got to market their stuff as well. But most of the cow-calf guys, they're going to be, more sensitive to what their buyers are going to demand, right? So
Fair enough. Does color ever have play in that, or not really?
Everybody has their own preference, right? I mean, usually blacks and reds, typically in this area, do better.
Yeah, that's fair.
And let's face it, I mean, the Angus Association has done a marvelous job at, marketing.
Yeah,
So,
it's seen as
Exactly.
the top tier
The
beef.
top guy.
Although
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you the difference between that and the Holsteins.
Well, I guess now
it's ribeye.
Yeah.
Ribeye.
Ribeye. We can get into like beef, semen, and dairy. That's a big new thing nowadays, eh?
It is actually. Well, the thing is, it's nice. We're at a point now where we are, we are getting along with the beef guys, and we're listening to what the beef guys want, right? And for that reason, beef on dairy will fetch you a higher price for your calves.
So I guess, do you want to explain to the listeners what kind of producers, or in a sense, are doing with beef semen in their dairy operations?
So what they do, in the old way of doing things, you just blanket breed all your animals, and you get, let's say, arguably you'll get 50% heifers, 50% bulls, right? So your replacements, you're also getting then your replacements from probably your bottom performers in your cows. So for a number of years now, they've had the sexing technology. So basically, they shine a little light on them, and the boys go one way, the girls go the other way, and if you get the female sex semen, you're able to generate heifer calves.
Wait, they use light to...
I don't know what
That's
they
how they-
use. I don't
Oh.
work in the lab, but that's what they tell me.
It's just a guy with a flashlight just sliding down like, come on, separate.
It's like a UV light or something. Yeah. Yeah, they got little gates. They got little guys with stock
Go through the
rods.
chute, damn it.
Oh shoot, we got a runner. Oh man.
But anyway, so being that we have this technology, now dairy farmers are, they want to be more profitable because, let's face it, expenses are going up there too, and it's getting harder to make a dollar as well.
Well, if you aren't trying to evolve, then what are you doing, right?
Exactly. So now they have the advantage, we can genomically test as well, and that gives you about 70% reliability.
What does genomically test mean for the people who wouldn't know that?
So basically you're taking a little bit of, just a wee little piece out of the ear. You can't even see it. It's like a pin prick. And so they can get all the DNA data from that animal and basically predict how they're going to perform as an adult.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So so with that, the highest numbered heifers you want to focus on. Or maybe, there's different alternatives. You can also go by what their conformation is like as well, right? If it's your best looking animals in your herd, then maybe you want heifer calves out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But typically, for most guys will follow the highest potential animals to perform, like they might produce more butter fat or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can isolate those animals, breed them to sex semen, and then figure out that you should have about 35 to 40% of replacement heifers anyway, that's typically what a dairy farm will have, then really those are all the heifers that you need to produce per year, right? So then your other option is, for your bottom end, you can just breed them all to beef and generate more money out of those calves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So typically right now in today's market, you can make about $200 more from a Holstein beef cross bull calf than you can from a Holstein. And from what I've heard, for some of the guys that raise them to finish, they can make 10 cents more per pound. So it absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, no,
Exactly.
for sure.
So
And so that's the way the industry's kind of moving going
it
forward.
is. So
What else do you see kind of the way it evolving in the future, or is that kind of just what you see for now?
So yeah, there's even I also have one customer. He's actually implanting 5 embryos, or about 5 embryos a month on his heifers from top genetics.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much just still trying to get the best genetics possible in your herd.
Well,
so that's kind of what it's come down to, almost just genetics.
Well, genetics is one thing, but like efficient genetics,
Mhm.
right? I mean, they're after efficiencies
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and trying to be more profitable with, higher performing animals, right?
Okay. How does you talk about these efficiency genetics? So obviously, you're talking about like milk production, stuff like that. But how does that play into like things like feet and legs and stuff like that, and having good body structure within your animals?
So when you do, that's all part of that formula, right? So
Okay.
So some guys go by the LPI formula, which is lifetime or life profit index.
Mm-hmm.
And feet and legs are included in that as well.
Okay.
And when the DNA testing is done,
Mhm.
when that genomic testing is done, it's all on there. Like even their feet and legs, everything's on there.
Okay.
So
All right, we're gonna go back to a little bit of the back. We're gonna go back to the beef again. What are some like tools? Like I saw, like when we were doing our research on WestGen, there's a few tools that guys can have, like the collars and like the moo call things. So like, what's the moo call tracker and how can that benefit beef producers?
So the moo call tracker is kind of interesting. You just basically you strap it onto their tail. So it's and all it measures is when a cow is calving. It sends you a text or an email. I'm not sure how it works. So you
Probably
have a phone
notification on an app or something.
Yeah,
like
it's
that,
a phone
eh?
app.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's a phone app. So it tells you that animal's calving. So if you're like a purebred guy, that's invaluable because you can go. The thing will tell you when the things, when the heifer or cow are calving, so you can, observe them, make sure there's no calving difficulty, so you don't lose that high value, valuable, or you don't lose that valuable animal, right? So
Do you sell those really at all, or is that more the Bow Valley guys who would be selling those?
we can sell them. I haven't sold a ton of them, but I know because we're not the only distributor as well. So, and I know there's a bunch around.
Okay.
So some guys use them.
So what other kind of technologies or infrastructure do you guys have that you can that you sell other than just semen?
Probably the most popular thing that we have is the activity and the rumination.
So the collars and the ear tags.
Yeah, it's called. Well, it's SCR product. It's basically, I like to refer it still as heat time.
It's not called heat time anymore.
It's like everything else. It keeps changing. Right?
It's like how Facebook is meta now or whatever.
Well, Alflex went in there and they bought it, and then and what is it? There's somebody else now too that's involved in it. Merck's involved in now. So now we'll have it available in Canada.
Okay.
Whereas before we used to, like it's actually a product made in Israel, and then it would go to Wisconsin, and Wisconsin to us, right? So, but it's a great tool.
Yeah, I guess that would go to Wisconsin, eh? That's pretty much the hub in the States for dairy farming, eh?
Yeah, well, yeah, they have a lot of dairy there.
A lot of dairy.
I think they have more dairy there than all of Canada.
Isn't that why they wear cheese heads at
Yeah,
the Packers games?
Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's why.
Maybe we should fact check that.
I'm pretty sure that's why.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
They must
Those
have
hats
some
are kinda
good
cool.
cheese.
I wouldn't mind getting one of those.
They also have like a beer there that's pretty good too. The brown cow beer.
Hmm?
It's
Is
like
that like an IPA?
I don't know. There's
You'd
something
probably
called
like
brown
that,
cow,
though.
and I've heard it before on other podcasts, and they just like talk about how great it is, and you can only find it in Wisconsin.
Well, have you heard about our product here, the vodka?
The vodka. I have had it.
Wait,
At
what is
college,
had
my
it?
buddy.
What's
It's from Ontario, ain't it?
What's the vodka?
I
What's the
don't know.
vodka? I've never heard of that.
It's vodka made from milk.
What?
They
How do
also
you- how do
make a
you-
coffee liqueur too. That's also.
How
made
do you
from-
do that?
I'm not a milk brewer. No
Yeah,
clue.
maybe I should go take the brewery course at Olds.
Yeah, I've had it. It's actually not bad,
Is it just like wait? So it's just straight vodka, and then you can mix that with whatever.
but it's made from milk.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's a byproduct of
Got to
milk.
be
There you go.
some way of the
Yeah.
fermentation process or whatever. Right?
I wonder if if you're lactose intolerant, you can't have it. Like, do they take the lactose out of it? You think? I don't know.
Oh, that could be another episode.
Yeah, maybe we have to bring this guy on.
yeah, we might have to look into that a little bit. That sounds interesting though. Not a huge vodka guy though, but
So this is kind of like the last beef question we have on our sheet here, just to get that over with.
well, did
What-
you explain the heat time really? I'm sorry for interrupting. Did you really explain it that well?
Well, the heat time, basically they wear a collar around their neck, or we have ear tags as well. And then they have, it kind of measures their head movement, or if you have the rumination, it has a microphone inside the tag. So because every cow moves a certain way, and it takes about a week to build the algorithm. And then once that algorithm is set, then it'll start detecting motion of the head. So if a cow makes excessive head movements, chances like it's in heat, right? So it's very accurate actually, and it works very well.
Okay, yeah,
And again, you get a phone app,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
you can be in Mexico and you know if your cows are in heat.
And those are the ways.
And then you just text your herdsman. You're like, "Hey, you got work now?" Type
Yeah.
thing. You better be working.
Yeah, get to work, buddy.
Go breed that sucker.
Yeah.
while you're sitting there sipping a margarita or something like
Yeah,
that.
on the beach. Yeah.
All right, the last kind of beef question: what would your advice be to new or younger beef producers in regards to using AI in their operation?
My biggest thing is, if you're going to go into AI, and I've seen this countless times as well, make sure you have a program, especially if you're going to off-sync them, which is controlled hormone breeding.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that the nutrition's up to par, that you offer animals a mineral.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're doing shots, to make sure you're very accurate with the shots and that you're on time.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get the best results. And learn how to AI, because if you could use things like heat time on animals if you learn your own AI. Because if you bring somebody in, chances are you're going to get about 65. You should expect about 65 to 70% conception on the first service.
Okay.
So if you don't want to keep any bulls around, then you're going to have to be there 21 days later to pick up the slack, right? To AI the rest.
Mm-hmm. Or you got to call the guy to come back, in a sense, too, even?
Well, the problem is they're going to be all over the board. Like, you're going to have 5 in heat today. You're going to have 6 tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
In BC, that works. They do have an arm service there,
Mm-hmm.
just because all the farms are really close by, and that's what they do. But
Mhm.
around here, the distances seem to be bigger. It's a little harder. And it's really not a hard skill to learn, AI. Even Mason learned it, so
Yeah.
so it can't be
That
that
says
tough.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
So would you say, kind of for the future, are you thinking that even for like these, because you said purebred guys are kind of doing it for sure. Are you saying like more and more commercial guys are going to use it, and it's going to kind of take away, like, you'll just have a bull for cleanup in a sense, and not,
Well,
and you're going to get the majority of your conceptions from,
you have to be motivated to be able to catch these cows and breed them, right? And a lot of guys aren't going to be prepared to do that, right? So you're going to have
Well,
a
it's
good
not
facility.
the most traditional way, in a sense, too, right? It's a
Yeah.
bit different.
So, well, traditional, I mean, yeah, maybe not. But you do get the top genetics. And,
when you get a higher conception rate as well, don't you?
well, not necessarily.
No? Okay.
But the fact of the matter is, it comes down to economics again, right? Because if you want to do a good job on your herd, you're looking at about, anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000. So you got to spend for one breeding bull. And a lot of things can go wrong. I mean, the things can go run around, break his penis somewhere, and then you got nothing. You can bring him to the auction and you make, 50 cents on the dollar
Mm-hmm.
back, right? Maybe even less. So, it just makes sense. I mean, to AI, for example, like the guy that we were breeding for, he's got 110 cows plus heifers, and he needs about 5 bulls to do a good job at breeding his cows, right?
Yeah.
So now, being that I only come there once, as far as I know, he just keeps 2 bulls.
Yeah, so one per 50 just as cleanup, in a sense.
Cleanup bulls, exactly. So, but he's 3 bulls less, so he can basically save himself $25,000 to $30,000.
Mm-hmm.
You can AI a hell of a lot of cows
For a lot cheaper than that.
for a lot cheaper than that, and better genetics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because now you're getting the actual sires of those
Mm-hmm.
sires, if that makes any sense.
So
That
you would
makes sense.
definitely recommend it to any beef guys out there.
Well, you got to have a plan, though, right?
Yeah.
Because I've done a couple gigs too, and the conception was horrible, and I know I got through good.
Yeah.
And that tells me, because I mean, I can't be there for everybody to watch how they do their shots and what have you, right?
Yeah, you can't babysit. You got
No.
enough shit on your plate.
So So I mean, I try to work with them, but it's there's an onus on them as well to make sure that they do it properly.
Gotcha.
So
All right.
Do you guys offer kind of like informational things for people who wouldn't know how to do that already, or is that kind of on their own part to learn how to properly sync up cows and that kind of stuff?
Well, and I think that's actually a good idea, Mason, because down in the future we should have, once COVID is done too, because that's a bunch of garbage.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't talk about COVID.
No, we
Yeah.
don't. Sorry. No, but in reality, we haven't been able to do these little seminars or these little, kitchen table meetings and things
Yeah.
like that because of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great idea. I'd love to bring some of our beef specialists down for the beef guys, and then just have a sit down and talk about these types of things. And that's what's missing right now. We haven't been able to do that. People are absolutely sick of Zoom. That just doesn't. It's not the same thing.
No, it's not.
For learning, especially.
Oh yeah. Boy, I can tell you. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
I can tell you that.
Well, yeah, because I was just gonna say, like, a lot of guys probably don't even know about this stuff, right? So then
hurts the GPA a little bit there.
Wow, yeah, and I'm not playing volleyball this year, so I got that, and I'm allowed to drink whenever I want. So.
Right.
It's a double banner right there. All right. So that's all the kind of the beef stuff. I guess now we'll get into your bread and butter, the dairy side.
There you go.
All right. We're going to start off with what I think is something that's coming into the industry quite a bit, and it's A2 milk.
Can you just explain quick what A2 milk is? I don't think a lot of people know what that is.
Well, I probably can't explain it scientifically, but it has to do with the protein in the milk. So if you're lactose intolerant out there, there is an answer for some of you, and it's A2 milk, because what you're allergic to in A1 milk is the protein in the milk. So the A2 is something that you might be able to tolerate and drink. So it's a small niche, but nevertheless, it does open a door up for more.
Because would you say most people still, like, who are lactose intolerant still are allergic to the A2 stuff?
They could be.
Is there an A3 as well?
No.
Maybe they're okay with the A3 or A4.
No, there's no A3 or A4. So... But yeah, it's...
so I guess if you're allergic to A2 as well, then you're just kind of screwed at that point.
Yeah. Then you got to drink the almond stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, we do have a...
Is that really milk,
What?
though? Almond milk? Would you consider that milk?
No.
Good answer.
No. Sure, you can make milk out of anything.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. Just squish it
I
enough.
drink the vodka before I drink the almond milk.
Yeah, and it gives you that special effect after too.
Have you guys ever had almond milk before?
No.
My mom went through a phase where we had soy milk.
What is it? What does almond milk taste like?
Does
it taste like regular milk,
but like
or is it
water.
like...
It's not as fatty. It don't taste.
So it's
fat.
like 0%.
Yeah.
It's not like the 3.25 that I always get.
Yeah. The homo milk.
The homo milk. Yeah. Homo milk.
So I guess how are dairy producers introducing how do you have a lot of guys who are jumping on the A2 train or not really?
I have a few. They and it's really easy to do. We offer the A2 brand on the bulls, and they're genomically tested, so we know that that's what they are. And I have a few farms that's all they want to breed with is A2 bulls. And that's fine. That's easy enough to do. The only challenge here is there's no processing here in Alberta in terms of A2 milk, and I don't see it'll be a while before it does. Now, there's one local guy, Crystal Spring Cheese. He does do a little bit of A2 milk, and Agri-Foods does it as well, but they process it in BC, so I can't see any Alberta milk going there for that processing for that there.
And is there the process of transition over to A2, is it quite lengthy and expensive in a sense, or is it pretty easy to transition in?
Well, let's say today they were able to process A2 milk to get set up. I mean, guys would only really get set up if they were paid a premium, right? Otherwise, it's not worth it. But if they were, and I believe Agri-Foods is, but in order to get set up, you'd have to genomically test your animals. And I think I'm not even sure what the dollar figure is. I could figure it. I don't want to quote that because I could be wrong, but nevertheless,
it won't be fact checked.
Yeah, we only talk facts on this show, so if you don't know it for fact, just don't say it at all.
It wouldn't be a horrible expense to do. It wouldn't be that bad, like $7 or $8 or something on top of the regular genomics. But anyway, so you could basically test all your animals. And I could already isolate in my computer which ones would have a probability of A2 by their genetics.
Okay.
So maybe you only test those and save yourself even more money. And then basically you just got to separate them in a different pen and possibly, have a
separate bulk tank
to milk that milk in there.
So this could be done within a year type thing. Like, this is not like organic where it takes 3 to 5 years to transition over in a sense.
No, but from what I've talked to the CEO from Agri-Foods, and he he said like they have to test it even when it comes. It has to be 100% A2, right? But again, you can do that genomically, and as long as you keep your equipment clean and there's no cross contamination or what have you, then if you set up a separate bulk tank, I think you could do it probably within, arguably, in a few months.
It's pretty quick.
Right. Well, as long as you can get a tank in there and get the plumbing done, and because the genomic testing, you can probably get all that information back in about a month, right?
Yeah, So when you're like, do you have any tie stall guys around here in Alberta?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Well, there is in Alberta,
but you don't have any tie stall customers down here, do you?
No, the last one sold out a few years ago.
What's the difference? Is there a difference in genetics between tie stall and freestall?
Typically, the tie stall guys are going to be they gravitate more towards like higher type animals, like more conformation.
Okay.
Right. That's about it, really.
So it's still looking for the same stuff in the end.
You still got to milk them. You still get paid by milk.
Enough, yeah.
Still got to pay yourself.
And so there's been a huge, for anybody who doesn't know, there's been a huge transition in the whole dairy industry towards using robots to milk cows instead of people doing it. It's kind of like, what would you say are the benefits to using robots compared to using just a parlor system?
Well, I think a lot of guys are switching to robots because labor tends to be harder and harder to find. I mean, that's the reality.
People don't want to work anymore.
Well, there's not a lot of people that want to get up at 3 or 4 in the morning anymore.
It's tough.
And
it
is
tough.
It's tough. It's
we
tough
could say that. That is a fact.
That's a fact.
Fact checked.
We fact checked that one. It is
all
tough.
three of us.
Because I do see some of the larger dairies that have parlors, and there's a continual staff rollover for milkers. Right? It's tough.
Well, only certain, like, there's literally, I've seen it too. It takes a certain type of person to be there long term to milk cows.
No, that's right.
Well, and with robots, you still need somebody watching them, though, right? But
they're different hours, right?
Yeah.
You don't have less work. You just have different work.
Yeah.
And so with robots, it works where the cows kind of milk themselves in a sense, right? Like they walk in on their own times, right? How many cows would you say is kind of per robot? Like, how many cows can each robot handle in a day?
So they say about 60 per robot.
60 per robot? Okay.
Like, I don't know if I'd want to push it farther than that. Because I just went to a guy yesterday, and he's got he's milking 44.8 kilogram average. Right? So, because the problem is if you run it too tight with robots, then if you need to do some service on your robot, then cows are waiting and they need to get milked, right?
Yeah.
So there needs to be a little bit of flexibility in the box time.
Yeah.
So.
And what was I going to say? Dad, you ask a question quick. I forgot what I was going to say.
How does genetics affect? Is there a difference in genetics between a robot and a conventional dairy farm?
So some guys don't absolutely don't care. I have some guys that are a little bit more anal about rear teat placement and teat length and milking speed. And now we do have, bulls that are designated, they call them robot ready. So they try to, identify some of those things, and those bulls have to qualify for some of those traits. Right?
So basically, though, otherwise, nothing else really different in a sense?
No, not really. Not really, no. Those are probably the main things.
I remember my question now.
Okay.
So I remember when I was a kid and you would take us to farm shows and stuff, and they were just introducing like the robots that would push up feed and these robots and all that kind of stuff. Would you say that more and more robots are being used now because it's also less costly? I know they used to be real expensive, and that's why nobody had them. Have they come down in price, and that's why people are using them? Or is there incentives for people to use them as well from the government?
Well, again, I can't comment on the price because I don't know. But I would imagine with anything, there's more of them around, they'd be a little bit less expensive.
Well, and there's more competition as well within the producers, isn't? Or the
there's more companies involved.
Yeah.
Yes, there's some that have been around longer, of course, and I think a lot of it's one of those things where, you're watching your neighbor and you're gonna wait till he has one first and see how that works out. Well, you know what I mean.
No, exactly. No, I know.
human element,
I know.
so
That's 100% how it works.
First, right?
Oh, it's working for you. Okay, well maybe I should think about that too.
Yeah,
right?
let me think about it. Maybe I'll do that. Yeah, I'll just.
And honestly, there's some guys I talk to, and I know they would be truthful with me. They would say it's either this thing's not working worth the shit, or they'll tell me no. This the one older guy that told me, he says I can't believe we didn't do this earlier, right?
Yeah.
So it's if you set up, but you got to make sure that you do the right. You got to set it up properly.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not having like 20 fetch cows every day, because that gets old really fast.
Then you're basically just milking cows at the beginning of that point.
Yeah, exactly.
So you think more and more guys are going to start using robots in the future?
It's progressively getting more and more and more.
So what you're saying is the robots are going to take take over?
Yeah, maybe. Terminator all over.
Terminator Dairy Edition.
Yeah.
Attack of the milking robots.
Yeah. All right. I guess now a personal question. When you guys were farming, what are 3 traits that you were looking for in your herd?
Well, I did like we did the classification in the milk recording, and I really enjoyed the classification as well.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously,
do you want to explain to people what classification is in a brief summary? I know it's kind of complicated, a little bit.
Well, not really. It's like a beauty contest, really.
Mm-hmm.
If you really want to simplify it, obviously to make a functional cow, it has to, have good balance, right? I just got in trouble for calling it symmetry, but essentially it's the same word. If a cow is very symmetrical, they're going to last a long time in your barn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Holstein Canada has classifiers. They come out twice a year. They can come out 3 times for a mid round, if need be, and they go out, and any cow that hasn't been scored, they look at all the traits of the cow, and they give it a final score.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they'll also tell you what the weakest traits are of that cow, right? All that stuff goes into the mating guide, or you can do it yourself, and you can pick bulls that might complement those weaknesses in those cows.
Okay.
Is that simple enough?
Oh yeah, it's pretty simple. Even I understood.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, I know, right?
Wow.
So yeah, back to the question then. What were kind of 3 traits that you guys were looking for, or like kind of 3 traits that you guys tried to highlight in a sense?
Well, like in terms of physical traits, 4 attachment was strong to me.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure like it has a good udder on it, because if it had a good udder, then it would last that cow would last a long, long time.
It's not one where the teats are shooting out on
Yeah.
the side of it.
Feet and legs are definitely a high priority.
Mm-hmm.
If she can walk, she's going to live an old age in the barn, right? And that's the goal.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the other one, more of a production trait, certainly butter fat.
Yeah.
That was an important one, because that's your paycheck.
Yeah, exactly.
Here, wait, I got one here, Dev. So,
all right, go ahead.
So the bulls that you sell, okay, they all have their name that was given to them by their owner. What's the coolest bull's name that you've ever sold or ever heard before? I know Facebook was a name. Of a
Yeah,
bull at one
I
point.
was around when Facebook was around. I heard about that
what
one.
was one? Gold something?
Win?
Goldwyn? Yeah, wasn't
he
that
was
one like a top tier bull as
Yeah,
well?
he was pretty good. So
What's the coolest name? Like when you almost just want to sell that bull just because it has a cool name. Like you're not even looking at the genetics at that point.
honestly, Mason, I don't even think about that.
That's definitely something I would think about. I'd be like, yeah, shit, that's a cool name.
Well, right now we got a bull named Sidekick.
Sidekick? That's not that cool.
No, that's not that cool.
I think Facebook's a bit better.
What?
Yeah, I think when I got into the industry, that's when Facebook was around in 2013, 2015
Somewhere
or so.
there. Like he had high LPI numbers, but he really didn't pan out that great in my books.
Okay, if you had to
so-
name a bull, what would you name it?
I don't know, Mason.
That's a stupid name.
Oh man.
What about like Dude? That'd be kind of cool.
We have a bull named Dude. Well, he's dead now.
That's
but-
just his name. It's just Dude.
Dude.
That's it.
Well, he's from the Claynook farm, so he was Claynook Dude.
Who's his
Um,
Dude?
so his nickname is
He was
Dude.
a very high conformation bull, very good bull actually.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Or like if you just name it something random like Bolo Tie.
Oh yeah. There's
Yeah. How do they even come up with these names?
not always. Well, usually the owner comes
The
up
owner?
with the name, And quite often what they'll do is they'll use the first consonant of the cow family, right? Just to, so they know that, okay, this is that cow family. And then sometimes I think, I'm not 100% sure, not a fact check, please, but sometimes CMEX will even change the name on the bull.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay.
Not very often. Usually the owner has the name and it sticks.
Oh, okay. So CMAX, so the parent company WestGen is CMAX.
Well, actually, how it works is WestGen, EastGen, and CIAQ. They own CMEX.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, and CMEX is where the bulls are collected, and that's our export.
And that's in
that's
Guelph,
the export
right?
part of exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we are a Canadian company, and that's definitely important to me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Support Canadian businesses.
Yeah, we are.
And then
And it's
West
farmer owned. Sorry.
and WestGen also has a facility in Abbotsford as well.
Well, that's our head office. Yeah.
Your head office.
So WestGen covers the western provinces to Manitoba, Manitoba to BC. So
And then EastGen does Ontario and Quebec.
no,
Which are-
no. CIAQ has their own thing. That's
Oh.
Quebec.
Oh, that's Quebec.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
So
Wow, I'm learning.
Eastgen is Ontario and the Maritimes,
Which I mean, they probably have enough business already just in that Ontario alone. So same
and
with
Quebec itself, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's just so many dairies there. It's
In Quebec, there is.
dairies.
top
Is that
dairy-
just, is that all they
is it-
really do there? Just dairy farm or what? Like,
Wow, but the thing is, there's not like there over there. You still have the 30 cow tie stall barns and
Yeah.
stuff like that, right? So, but very high end cows.
is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
Is the just kind of the environment there just kind of like better for dairy farming compared to just growing? You know.
I don't know. Like it's interesting too, right? If you look at dairy farming in the West here, it's definitely, you know, it's mostly the Dutch that seem to want to do it. And
Dutch,
It's-
yeah, it is.
If you see
like,
a
why
dairy,
is that?
I don't know.
I'd say there's a 90% chance that when you go up to a dairy farm, it's like owned by a Dutch guy.
Yeah, but we have
Yeah.
a high Hutterite contingency here too, right? And they
Yeah.
also dairy farm.
But you said they do a lot of smaller stuff, and I mean, from our conversation the other night, you said it's mostly smaller dairies the Hutterites are doing, like 60
Well,
cows.
no, because I taught one Hutterite colony and they were 180 cows, so
Oh, okay.
and a rotary parlor, so.
Okay. Would you say more Hutterites are getting into the dairy, or they've always?
They've always have been, but you're right. I mean, they've always, they've been around that 80 cow average size, maybe 80, 90. Where are we at right now for herd size in Alberta?
Average?
Yeah.
I know it's a bit under BC, and BC was at 200 a couple 2 years back,
Yeah.
2 or 3 years back. They were at when I saw the fact sheet that came out.
So are we like 170 or something?
Probably like
Alberta?
170, 175 probably
Yeah.
then.
Should we fact check this? I can Google it quick.
Yeah, Mason's gonna Google real quick. Well, we'll go back to the bulls. What's your top selling bull right now?
You know what? It's.
Does
I
it
think
have
it
a
might
cool
be.
name?
I think it might be Alcove, actually.
Alcove.
And what kind of what characteristics does he have that makes producers want to use him?
Well, he's a top LPI bull in Canada in the last proof round, and he still has double-digit confirmation. So
Oh,
he's
okay.
like a 10 for confirmation. So he ticks a lot of boxes for a lot of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like 140 something, 144 for fat.
Okay.
So
He's just like the top tier right now, just top of the line.
yeah, but he's not for everybody though either. But right now, I'm probably just. You asked me which one I'm selling most. That's probably the one.
Okay. And you do sell a lot of Holstein, but do you sell a lot of other breeds like Jersey, Ayrshire, and stuff like that?
A little bit, not a ton.
Do you have any just purebred Jersey guys?
Well, most guys that, not just primarily Jersey. There's some in central Alberta, but not in this area. So, but if the jerseys that they do have mixed in with their Holsteins are purebred,
Okay.
and they only breed sex semen. Because bull calves from jerseys are worth absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, I got this here. Okay, so
here we go.
it looks like in 2020, I think this is from taking this was the year this was recorded, but it said the average herd size increased from 189 to 202 dairy cows, not including heifers.
In Alberta?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say it's probably up to 200 by now.
That's pretty big compared to the 30 to 60 probably out in Quebec that they have out there. Eh?
Yeah, I don't know. He'd have to Google that again. That's not facts. We
That's
didn't-
not fact check. We're just throwing
We're a
out
long way
stuff.
from Quebec right now.
Yeah, no. So I was gonna get into like some of the. When I was doing my research on the WestGen website,
Why did
you guys
do finger like research?
I don't know. Some
do
of
you
the
mean?
stuff was that
I
like.
don't think we're taping there anymore.
No, I don't think so.
Nah,
That's okay.
we're just gonna let it go.
Yeah.
This is the second time it's happened now.
By the way, we do have a YouTube page now, but our phone that we used to record cuts out halfway through. So
You get the first 30 to 40 minutes. But it's good stuff otherwise.
yeah.
They talked in the thing. They talk about how they have 6 genetic solutions. So I know we talked about A2, and then we also talked about Robot Ready. What other kind of genetic solutions do they have? Like the Immunity Plus, and there's obviously there's 3 more.
Fertility. Plus. What else?
And then
like
I think
calving ease is on there too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
And how? I guess now we can relate this back to the beef. How important is calving ease to dairy guys? Like, is it something they really think about or not really?
Most guys do.
Mm-hmm.
They don't for their cows,
Mm-hmm.
but more for their heifers.
Okay.
Right. So again, nobody wants any calving problems. I just have one guy that absolutely doesn't care about calving ease, even up for his heifers. So.
Okay.
But there isn't a whole lot of bulls that we have left on the proof sheet that are.
It's like a problem in a sense.
Calving ease, so.
What's one that interested me when I was looking was Immunity Plus. So what is Immunity Plus?
That they've been working on that for years and years and years. Even before I started working for WestGen or CMEX for that matter, because it is a CMEX thing, like all across the board. So they did patent that, and it came with some very interesting results. So it's more of a DNA response.
Yeah.
The Immunity Plus, and it's because health traits typically are from milk recording.
Mm-hmm.
Right, or what you get from data, let's call it phenotypic data, which means the physical result.
The physical character. I don't know. We ain't scientists.
Yeah. But anyway, what you get basically, let's say you do your milk recording or whatever, this cow's got somatic cell you recorded in your computer. So for me, the health traits a lot of times are kind of blotchy. Because it's only as good as the producer that recorded it, and how the information is gathered. So it's a percentage of, and it's a lot of health traits are environmental, right?
Well, I guess it just depends on what the barn's like and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And their cleaning protocols too, and whatever.
Bingo. So Immunity Plus is completely different. Like it's also a health, I don't know what you want to call it, a health advantage or a health, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that comes right out of the DNA, so it's not. It's already predetermined, and it's 33% heritable now. So it's quite significant.
Oh.
So what does that mean? It doesn't necessarily mean that your cows are never going to get sick.
Mm-hmm.
But what they found is the cows that do sick have a better response to treatment as well.
Gotcha.
So in theory, there is actually herds, and not in my area, that's kind of hit and a miss sometimes, but there is herds that are only breed on Immunity Plus bulls, and they have seen some of the results that, calves do better, and cows just respond better to treatment and things like that.
So then essentially also the cows are kind of there's less cows that are getting mastitis and stuff like that as well.
But they will still get mastitis, but
they'll respond
they'll get
to
over
the,
it
the
quicker.
spectrum quicker.
Look at that, using some dairy terms.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I used to kind of dairy farm, guys. Believe it or not.
So, I mean, your goal always is to have is longevity as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not just, milk production, all that. You want a cow that's going to pay over and over and over and over and be that joy in your barn, right? That lasts for 10, 11 lactations.
Exactly.
So,
I guess, we kind of missed this question. We should have done this question a lot earlier. How long does a dairy farmer want a cow in their herd for? Like, when does it pay itself off, in a sense?
I think it can pay off in the first year already.
Okay.
Because I think the national average is about $2,500 to get a heifer to milk, like what your input costs are.
Yeah.
So you just got to calculate, okay, as the production goes in her first lactation, where does she pay off, right? So she can pay off in her first lactation already.
So then that's why dairy farmers are so wealthy, because they got cows who are going 7, 8 lactations.
Well, no. Wealthy.
Asset rich.
Asset rich. Yeah.
Cash poor.
Cash poor. Asset rich. That's
what
dairy
would you
farmer.
say? What's like even when we were milking? What was the highest lactation you got a cow to?
So
what was your oldest cow, I guess?
I don't think I can't remember, but I don't think we got any cows that went 100,000 kgs in their lifetime. But I do the awards for our club.
Is there a
down
lot
here.
of guys who do that now? Like that's kind of the
Yeah.
average almost in a sense, or is
No.
it still kind of like you have to be at a certain caliber to be able to do that?
Basically, the ones that are milk recording down in southern Alberta here, I bet you now we get about 25. I get a list of about 25 cows that are 100,000 at about 100,000. So it keeps climbing every year. So I know all this genetic stuff is working.
Mhm.
It's nice to see it like in action.
You're not just shooting smoke up everyone's
Yeah.
ass.
Then you're just a salesman.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm results orientated. I like to
Okay.
see results.
There you go. Yeah.
So,
Well, no, that's good to see then.
I guess relate to the longevity. I know, like, I have a story of a guy in Lacombe. He was telling me, we were just bullshitting the one day, and he was telling me about, he used to dairy farm. Now he owns a grain operation. He was telling me how he just didn't want, he was struggling to breed back one of his cows, but he was a nice cow, so he just let her milk out, and she milked over 365 days in lactation. What's like the longest you've seen a cow in lactation for without just dropping off? Like, she's been consistent type thing.
I've seen some cows go over 1,000 days.
Wow, that's
On the
amazing.
same thing, right? Like they were producing okay, and they didn't have the stress of a calf inside their belly, so they just kind of just carried on, right, till they got to a production point where they just had to sell them.
Yeah.
There's one in particular. We had there's one of my herds. He's got this cow, and she aborted a couple times in her first lactation, and we just love this cow, right? Like she went 85 points, so she was a very good cow, and he finally got her pregnant, right? And I think she went to like 550 days in milk in her first lactation, somewhere in there. But then she calved out, and she's just fresh now, and she just jumped up to 87 points. So he's hoping that she won't, throw her calf at all, and when he tries to breed her back now in her second lactation. So that was. I don't know why I told that story, but it was more than your 365 days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, those are amateur numbers. Yeah,
Amateur.
yeah, you gotta pump those numbers up.
Dean, if you're hearing this, that's the amateur numbers.
Yeah.
Is that why you went to crop production?
Oh.
Sorry, Dean. I don't even know you.
Actually,
you're
you might
getting
know
shit on
Dean.
right now,
He worked
Dean.
for Alta for a bit, so
Oh.
Dean and he worked with Brian Badgema for a bit at
Oh,
Alta.
okay, yeah.
Yeah. Poor Dean.
Poor
Yeah.
Dean. Sorry, Dean.
All right.
We love you, Dean.
Yeah.
Mason, got any other dairy questions?
No, not really. You got more?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head.